Good morning and thank you for joining us. This is Sunrise and I am Alero Iju.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde. Okay, don't look at me that way. I can see your ears are burning on my side.
You got eyes in the side of your head.
What's important is that I know that you're looking at me this way.
You can feel my eyes boring into
because
you.
You're very impressionable, You're very gorgeous. You're very, very delectable. You can blush. It's okay. It's not a sin to blush, So that's a compliment, by the way.
He's had his cocoa this morning.
Yeah, so. And you? Hope you had your cocoa this morning.
Yes. I happened onto Politics Today yesterday, and I heard the finance minister saying that Nigeria had attained self-sufficiency in maize production. And I was taken aback because I know that on this program, when we discussed farming at one time, we had poultry farmers here lamenting and saying that eggs were expensive because there was no feed, the price of chicken had gone through the roof, all because there was no feed. And the major ingredient in poultry feed is maize. And they were having to wait for people to import maize for them to be able to feed their poultry.
Well, I don't know. There's something that we've often said, that there is data and then there's reality.
Yeah.
You remember, we say that a number of times. I think there was a point sometime in the not too distant past, the CBN governor said that Nigeria is doing everything it can to attain self-sufficiency in maize production by 2022. So whether or not the figures now say that we have
achieved it earlier
is left for the jury.
Okay, that's for data. What about those in the industry who can't find it to buy?
I not did the industry.
I just did make it.
Because, the question you have raised is significant. We have hosted a monarch on this program once who said, look, we're having a hard time getting feed for poultry. And that is why eggs were so expensive. That's
chicken.
That's why we didn't have enough of poultry products, chicken, eggs, and all of that. So how that came to be, I really, really don't know. Well, it is something do you have a poultry farm yet? Okay, no, you don't. So I assume you don't, even though you have a land, but you don't have a farm yet. So I don't know. I'm seeing you don't. So let's ask poultry farmers. If that has become...
If that has changed.
If that has changed.
Well, if it has, then we would see it in the cost of eggs, we would see it in the cost of chicken, which is rising.
Well,
and Christmas is coming.
We'll come to Christmas. When Christmas comes, we'll come to Christmas.
No, we're already... this is the middle of November.
No.
People are shopping for Christmas already to avoid rush.
Ain't they shopping too early?
No, they're not.
It's not rush.
They're not.
It's not rushing.
They're not, because prices are going to go up even more.
Anyway, back to the substance. I think, it will be good to hear poultry farmers talk about this. Of course, our email address. You can shoot us a mail. Let's know what you think about that, comment. Another one from the same program made by the finance minister, comment made by the finance minister on that same program, Politics Today. Talks about the fact that we're having a challenge with rice smuggling.
Yes.
Smuggling rice into the country.
And that is the reason why the price of local rice.
That's the reason prices of local rice is rising. Number one, under whose authority is the Nigerian Customs Service? Is it the Ministry of Internal Affairs or the Ministry of Finance? I just want to be sure. Has it moved?
As they say in Nigeria, bam.
That's one. Secondly, how empowered, how efficient are the Customs Service men to do their jobs? Remember, I think it was in March, I saw that report, it was in March or May this year, said that these guys had to literally pay ransom before they were released.
Yep.
What's the ransom? 7 bags of rice.
Yes,
they
bags
seized
of rice.
37 bags, and they had to buy their own freedom by giving the bandits, the smugglers, 7 bags of rice. So is that information lost on the supervising agency of the Nigeria Customs Service? And because these guys are having a hard time working in the hinterlands, working in the borderlines and all of that, in order to forestall smuggling. What is the Finance Ministry or the Ministry of, the Nigeria Customs Service is one of those security agencies in Nigeria, don't forget. So if the Customs Service is one of the security agencies and it is under the Ministry of Finance because it is a money-generating institution, the question is, what have we done to ensure that that doesn't happen, to curtail smuggling? If the goods are able to come into the country in the first place, on whose table will that box stop? Secondly, insecurity that hasn't allowed people to go to farms as frequently as they should, and consequently produce as much as they should. How well have we done in ensuring that that has, tapered down to help farmers go to farm and produce more?
So are we heading for a famine? Because food production seems to be dwindling because food prices are rising so much. And it's because the little that is available, too much money chasing after too few goods, simple economic theory, So what's going to happen? Are we heading for a situation where we will not get enough food to eat?
Well, I sincerely hope not. There have been conversations around food security or food insecurity in Nigeria of late. I sincerely pray with all my heart that we are not going to get there. I remember at some point you were talking about, talking about the maize thing earlier. I remember at some point, I think, was it last year, middle of last year or late last year, when poultry farmers cried out, the federal government had to dip its hands in the National Food Bank in order to give these guys at least something. That it was at the time, I think, that the borders were shut and there were we weren't able to get enough feed for the poultry farmers to feed. Now, so federal government had to kind of give some palliatives, in a way, to the poultry farmers in order for them to be able to produce. How has that helped to stem the tide of production? Well, there's so many questions that people really want answers to these things, but do we have to struggle to get the information?
Besides, maybe it's time for government to actually wield the big stick. As long as, what are they called now, herdsmen get away with just doing whatever they like with people's farms, for so long will it just continue to happen? It's time to wield the big stick, otherwise we're facing a hunger. We're facing famine in this country.
Then there's a word that usually comes up when you talk about wielding the big stick: political will. I'm just wondering what that English term means really. Political will to do your job.
Yeah, right now there'll be several meanings to it, so it will be pick your choice.
I don't want to go there.
Oh yes, and we hear that FIRS actually generated 4.2 trillion in the first 9 months of this year, of their target of 7.6. Well, target is 7.6. This is, well, up until September, you were only able to generate 4.2.
Do you know, I mean, December is a very active economic, a very active period for economic activities. Yes, so it's possible.
But there's no money in Nigeria now.
Who says?
People are looking for money to eat.
Where did the 4.3 million come from? Or what did you call it now?
4.2.
4.2 million naira. Where did it come from? If
Trillion.
God, Jesus. Where did it come from? Of course there is money in Nigeria. Where did the FIRS, did they come to your bank account to squeeze it out? No.
They'll be lucky.
So, but the question that I ask about that is, how has the efforts of the FIRS and the different IGRs
I know where you're going.
in states helped to engender production, strengthen
Employment.
micro, small, and medium enterprises to produce, generate more revenue, give employment to people, reduce poverty in the country, etc. Why are you laughing?
God.
Don't even get me started on that. But you see, the only thing we can say, you know, Alara, is it's cheering that these things, at least some agencies are working. What are others doing? I understand, was it the Immigration Service or
Yes, they're
Customs?
working, but I'm sure some people who are watching us this morning already have tummy ache because they were taxed multiple times so that that money, you know, which is the reason for that huge amount of money generated by the FIRC. You know,
that's one of the. How has it helped production? How has the Vice President was talking about, you know, AFCFTA recently, and was challenging the private sector to take advantage of after for exportation. Great. But have we firmed up all of the facilities, all of the paraphernalia of government to ensure that the appropriate things are done and we export the right things? Remember there was a time, was it the UK or one of those European countries, turned back our exports?
Yes.
And who cried? NAFDAC.
Yes. Yams from Nigeria being rejected, pineapples from Nigeria being rejected.
So,
and what is the reason for that? And anyway, can we even compete internationally?
Oh, yes, we can.
Oh, really?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The wherewithal for production has to be in place first. And that includes power.
Oh.
I mean, any way you look at it, power will always play an important part.
It's a critical infrastructure.
It
there
is.
No gainsaying.
And we don't seem to be taking it seriously.
Well,
are you seeing any improvement? Do you see any concerted effort to improve power supply so that the manufacturers can work, so that they can then price their goods in such a way that those goods can compete?
Was it this yesterday or day before? Was it today or yesterday morning that I saw that some people claim that government or whatever authority has increased the prices of meters? Because how does that tailor into the position of government to ensure that 96 million homes or facilities are metered across the country?
Why should we be paying for meters that don't belong to us?
I thought I was the only one that asked that question. Was it 3 years ago?
Yes, it's not my meter, so why should I pay for it?
Anyway, that's another one.
Okay.
You wanted to talk about Universal International Children's Universal Children's Day? Universal
Children's Day, yes. But that's in the you know. But the thing is it Universal Children's Day or children out of school? Education.
No, one of the critical reasons for celebrating that is education. Give attention to all of the things that concern the children. You know, as you said, we're going to get there, out of school children.
Yes, it's, it's part of the menu for today.
The question that I want to ask is ahead, and I hope I will get some good answers. There is a universal basic education program in the country, and it is an instrument of the Constitution. Section 18 of Nigeria's Constitution says, I need to get
clearly.
18, educational objectives. Number 1, government shall direct its policy towards ensuring that there are equal and adequate educational opportunities at all levels. Sub 2, government shall promote science and technology. Sub 3, government shall strive to eradicate illiteracy. And to end this, government shall, as and when practicable, provide A, free, compulsory, and universal basic education, B, free secondary education, C, free university education, and D, free adult literacy program, full stop.
Even if it is not free, provide it.
Because I remember the government, the president was quoted as saying recently in a statement from the presidency that Nigerians are doing so well abroad because they got good basic education at home. It's on channelstv.com in case you haven't seen it.
I make no comment.
Obviously. Because making no comment sometimes is a comment. I'm just so you know.
Okay, shall we, now, what are we going to be talking about or looking at this morning? We're going to begin with the Anambra governorship election, of course, where we shall be looking at a new dawn.
Okay, that's the first thing. Of course, we just mentioned out-of-school children. What solutions are ahead for us? That's the second topic.
National Universal Children's Day Dialogue.
That's a good one. And of course, this one, the Superbrands Nigeria. What does that mean?
What's that about?
In the course of time.
And then, as is usual, we shall close with the Artist of the Week segment. And all I will say is that she is a she.
She is a she.
She's a she, yes.
A shim.
No. She.
Shim.
A real she.
A what?
A real she, where no doubt as to whether she's a she or he.
Not a they.
No, not the.
You know there is a gender called they.
They. Who's that?
Check your dictionary. Don't do that to me. I mean,
no, they will not tell me the gender. You just tell me that they is the plural of he, she, it.
No, it's a gender, but not in Nigeria, of course.
Well, okay. All right. You know those men who wear earrings and braid their hair?
No, it's not that one. Those are just cross-dressers.
Those are the ones who are shims. Okay, we'll see you in just a little bit.
Now this is Christmas time. Venice in a vida, Pharaoh and you Venice down. May one always see you a Merry Christmas. May one always see you a Merry Christmas. May one always see you a Merry.
Thank you for staying with us. Well, as you know, on Wednesday, Professor Charles Soludo was declared the winner of the Anambra governorship election. He won 19 of the 21 local government areas of the state. And you know that his victory came on the heels of a very fiercely contested election, which even spilled over till Wednesday when there was a supplementary election.
It was Tuesday, but I think the announcement was made on Wednesday.
Yeah. Tuesday, the election in Ihiala, supplementary election. So we're going to be looking at that this morning. So what do we expect from this new government? And actually, we saw the Situation Room and all that during the elections. And by and large, the election was thought to have been free and fair. How true is that? We're going to be asking some more people to give us their opinion about the elections and where do we go from there. We have with us in the studio Lawrence Onozulike, who's President, Igbos for a Progressive Nigeria, IPAN. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much.
You limped into the studio and you said, were you fighting during the election or what?
Not really, but the situation in Anambra State, though it was peaceful during the election in my area, Oka North side, but the tension was high, that even if you hear small sound, everybody will. So
well, thank God it was just small sounds you heard.
So it was
and everything went peacefully.
No, it was very okay.
Okay.
Very, very peaceful.
Yes. Now, joining us virtually, we have the essay to Governor Obiano on political matters, Barrister Ifatu Obi-Okoye. Good morning.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure to be here this morning.
Okay. We also have the APC Publicity Secretary in Anambra State, Mr. Okelo Madukaife. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, channels.
Okay, whatever that means.
Well, he wasn't talking to you, he was talking to India Anambra.
That's true, that's true. India Anambra, okay. They hear you, they hear you.
We heard you.
Well, let me start with Lawrence. Lawrence, so you were in Anambra during
yes.
Even though you live in Lagos, right?
Yeah, but because of IPAN, I stay more in Anambra these days, especially during the election, because we wanted to make sure that everything went peaceful and well.
So you were in Anambra during the elections.
I was. Yeah.
What was your impression of everything that happened?
At the end, my impression that it was a very nice election. The people feel like it's one of the best because they felt like the winner was the person they voted for. So maybe political parties can say different things, but Anambra people believe that for the first time their votes counted.
Okay. Did people really come out to vote?
You know, in Anambra, people never really always come out to vote. They never,
Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe it's this feeling that my vote will never count. And before the election, we had a lot of TV programs, IPAN did, and a whole lot of other CSOs trying to sensitize people on the need to come out. So this is what has been lacking in Anambra State. There have to be an education informing the people on reasons to come out and vote. We don't have this before, so a lot of people feel like their votes don't count. And of course, the violence that comes with the elections in Nigeria.
But there was no violence this time, was
this
there?
time there wasn't. And that's very,
so it was
very...
the fear of...
Yes, that it might happen.
Fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it went very well. We're very proud of what happened. And we hope that from this time onwards, people will start coming out to vote, because it's very, very critical.
Reading,
so,
the results that came out reflected the choice of the people.
yes, people are very happy with what across parties. I mean, the masses, not the politicians.
Okay, let me ask the APC Publicity Secretary the same question. Mr. Madukaife, did you think that the result was a reflection of the wish of the people?
Thank you very much. This is a very technical question, and I'm very glad that someone is preempting us already. He said the political parties can say different things. Yes, naturally. The political parties will say different things because they are in the field. They spend more time on these things, and they take it like a pastime, quite unlike others who just watch and move on. Yes, your question is a technical one, and choosing my words very carefully, I would say it is difficult to establish whether the results that we have is the wish of the people, to the extent that the votes that counted, roughly about 200,000 votes, is a minority of the Anambra voting population that came out to vote. And the factor was the new BVS, which has proved untested. So it rejected more people than it accepted. And if democracy is still a game of numbers, then one would say that those people who were unaccounted for in the results that were announced should count in the opinions that we air as a political party. But to the extent that the accepted results in terms of sampling results were announced, it is acceptable to us. But it is important that we create these backgrounds so that no one goes away feeling that INEC has done well, because they will take it to the bank and begin to celebrate, and at the end of the day, when you have another election, it still meets us, the same unresolved issues. So, to summarize this view in this segment, number one, it does not reflect the majority of views of people because the majority were not captured. But the sample captured, it reflects the wish of their votes. Thank you.
Mr. Madukaife, I beg your pardon. Well, like you said, it's a game of numbers. So if 10,000 are registered and only 50 turn out, the results will be based on only the 50 who turned out.
Thank you. Let's take it in 3 layers. You took it in 2. If social number is registered, and then so turn out, and then another so are accepted to vote. That's the point I'm making, that middle population. The number that is registered, the number that turned out to vote, and the number that were captured to vote because of the glitches and hitches in the machine. In other words, our submission, which has been done in our comprehensive reaction to the election, is that INEC ought to have done a pilot project to test the workings of the machine. And to that extent, it was unfair to the people people of Anambra State. When we say free and fair, we are talking of freeness, free of overwhelming hitches, and fair to the people, not necessarily fair to political parties. Because let's put this in perspective, it has an influence on ability to mobilize people to vote in future. I just heard somebody say Anambra people don't troop out. There are factors. And another person said correctly because they were feeling that their votes don't count. Now, so what is the feeling for that person, never mind the elite, who can insist, that person who is not so enlightened, but who having been reluctantly accepted to come out and vote, was sure that in the polling unit where he or she voted 4 years ago was not allowed to vote for something she could not understand. That's the point.
Well, Mr. Madukife, before we bring in the essay to the governor on this issue, if you would recall, one of the units in an electoral process responsible for voter education are the political parties. INEC has a role to play, but so do the political parties. So the question to you then is, how much political education did your party engage in for two things? Number one, to educate people on their civic responsibility, and number two, to canvass votes. You definitely went out to canvass votes, but was there a time that your party did a significant work in educating people about the need for them to come out and exercise their civic rights?
Thank you very much. Let us start from the statute and then go to the volunteerism part of it. It is the duty of INEC, who is Voter Enlightenment Department, to enlighten voters. Now, just like you have government and you have non-governmental organizations, there are certain things that governments don't do, but NGOs take it up on their own, on volunteer basis. That's what political parties do. And so while they can go ahead and discharge that responsibility, which we did, they cannot take responsibility for failures in that direction.
Are you saying that the political party does not have any duty to educate voters?
No statutory responsibility.
But isn't that a moral responsibility? Duty is a
softer word. Yes, duty or obligation, we did it. But we won't take responsibility for enlightening voters. In any case, voters are not complaining of enlightenment to the extent that the security issues that dominated the build-up to the election allowed. Nobody is complaining. The point here is that voters did come out. But okay. For instance,
you said voters did come out. Just a second. You said voters didn't come out, and yet you are saying voters didn't come out en masse. You listened to Mr. Onuzulike here, who was saying that there was, as far as he is concerned, not enough people came out for one reason: voter apathy. Okay? And it's something that's been happening over the years. So one wonders how really you want to appeal to people when they do not feel, one, that their votes would count, and two, justice, payments, dividends for the votes that they've cast before.
I'm only addressing this issue in terms of relativism. I've acknowledged that there is a voter register and there's a total number. And the people that emanate to come out are a far cry from that voter register. And again, the people that manage to be accepted and to vote, for instance, Oba communities, 40% of the votes in the Idemili South local government area, Oba did not vote. Akuku is another community, they didn't vote. Ichi, as a whole town, did not vote, and they did not have an opportunity for rerun. These are things that we must capture, otherwise they will happen again. We must be able to check why did they happen. So it's not about enlightening the people of Oba to come out. They came out, but they could not vote. Just like Ihiala, which was repeated. But Oba never got such an opportunity. Akuku did not get that opportunity. Ichi did not get that opportunity. So if we just go ahead, open our mouth and say what everybody on the street is saying, that things are fine and all right, which I have already established that political parties will not do, then we will be wrong, because they will not be providing an opportunity for improvement in the future. So it is not so much about who came out or who did not. There are three layers: the registered voters, the voters that turned up, and the voters that were accepted by the machine and those that were rejected but duly registered there.
Okay. Well, sounds like your party wants to go challenge this at the next level. But let's bring in the essay to Governor Obiano on political matters to this. Pastor Okoye, a lot of people have said a lot of things about the elections in Anambra State. So, where you sit, well, it's natural to expect that you will praise it, but let's hear you out.
Yes, as much as it's natural that I will praise it, but I think we need to do a fair appraisal. The most significant thing about this election was the ability of INEC and all the relevant institutions to conduct the election on the 6th of November. Prior to the 6th, there were many challenges. There was this sit-at-home challenge by IPOP. There was, of course, the threats by unknown gunmen. There was, of course, the challenge from the statement of the Attorney General, and so on and so forth. So all this rubbed off on the ability of INEC to even prepare for the election. I recall that during the process of recruitment of ad hoc staff, Anambra State came short of the required staff because a lot of people were scared participating. INEC had to get staff, as it were, from around the country, neighboring states, up to Akwa Ibom, Edo, and so on, in order to make up the number. This also affected the vehicular aspect of running the election. The transport owners were apprehensive. They were not too sure about the safety. And so it was difficult getting vehicles for INEC. If not for the assistance of government, maybe INEC would not have had enough vehicular transport. So having the election in the first place on the 6th was the most important thing and the most credible thing each and every one of us as stakeholders must acknowledge. I appreciate the fact that my brother who just spoke, the question was not technical. I think what was technical were his answers. In every election, there are always registered voters. In Anambra State, we have over 2 million registered voters. And that's always been like that, over 2 million. But have we ever been able to produce a governor with up to 500,000 votes? No. 400,000 votes? No. 300,000 votes? No, none before. So that has always been the pattern. Over 2 million registered voters. At the end of the day, you find out that those that really come out to vote, for one reason or the other, are always below 500,000 people. That has been the pattern in Anambra. That has been the apathy of the Anambra people. Maybe because of the mercantile nature. People prefer to go about trading. They have not understood the importance of participating in this civic responsibility. But what comes to mind is how credible was this election?
But before you go on, Barrister, just a second, Barrister, before you go on. One of the critical issues raised for voter apathy this time around was insecurity. People were apprehensive, people were uncertain. And in the run-up to the elections, a good number of people, came out to say, this whole thing is politically motivated. All of the insecurity was politically motivated. Some of these comments even attributed to governors in the Southeast. So one wonders, to what end? If it is so, assuming.
This particular situation we had in the last election was peculiar. Before now, we've never had a situation like that. We've never had that level of violence, real violence. Quite a number of people were killed. Unknown gunmen were all over the place, attacking even politicians Politicians could not even campaign with their vehicles. A couple of vehicles of political parties were burnt on the highway. People were killed. So the build-up was totally apprehensive. But I must tell you, what surprised me on the election day, and my friend from APC, who incidentally comes from the same ward as I do, will acknowledge this fact that the voter turnout on the 6th was really impressive. It may not have been really high, but it was really impressive. If one has any reason to criticize what happened on the 6th, it is the fact that the new BVS machine, the accreditation machine, was a bit slow, and in some places did not work as fast as we would have expected. But INEC staff tried their best. They went around repairing them and putting them in order for people to vote. You will expect that when a new experiment comes on. But that altogether did not affect the credibility, fairness of the election in any way, because whatever happened was common to everybody. And like somebody said, if 20 people came out to vote, your result must be based on 20 people. Your popularity must be based on that. It is not only when 1,000 people come that you become popular. At the end of the day, we had a very credible election, and the best.
Oh dear. Well, I'm pretty sure that we'll have him back shortly. Well, Mr. Onuzulike.
Can I add something to what they're saying?
Okay, go ahead.
Because I think Anambra people must be commended for what just happened. Because when everything is okay, the security situation is okay, we used to have like 300,000 people coming out to vote. With this a situation like war zone, we have like 250,000 people coming out to vote. I think they should be commended. And the issue of technical issues with election equipment, no party was singled out. It happened across all parties. BVS didn't choose APC against, it just happened to everybody. So it shouldn't be like they singled out a political party. I think in all, the election was good, free and fair. So.
Lawrence, if there are over 2 million registered voters and only about 250 came out, Mr. Okoye referred to the mercantile nature of the people. But if, for instance, they are convinced that their vote would count, do you not think that going forward, the next election should witness more than 250, because more people will believe that their vote will count and they will therefore come out to vote?
Naturally, it should, and it will, because the zeal showed by the people, even during voter registration in Anambra State, showed that people are now ready to start voting. So it's the security situation. This, like he said, is a peculiar situation. I don't think this will happen again in the next 4 years. Anambra people are becoming very enlightened. They are beginning to decide who will lead and who will not lead them. So it's not more like before that. We don't care. As long as the market is open, we open our shop. No, they are becoming more enlightened, more educated, more informed. They are ready and they are willing. What happened was, with the war zone-like area, like I keep repeating, and 250,000 came out, it shows that people are defiant. They are ready to do something. And next 4 years, a lot will come out.
Okay. Well, Mr. Okoye, one wonders, you know, what are the lessons that you would say that we have learned from this experience that we've had in Anambra State? Well, you are essay to the governor on political matters, so you must know more than a thing or two about, you know, politics in Nigeria. So if you're going to offer counsel about this, how do we go about it? In Anambra, as you said, 2.5 million voters or so. There are arguments about how many of those 2.5 million voters in Anambra are alive. There are those who are talking about cleaning up the voter register, you know, general, the national voter register, 84 million or thereabout. So many are wondering how many have they been able to do anything to sweep the register to ensure that indeed the number of people who vote are the people that are on that register. So if you were going to offer counsel specifically talking about Anambra State now, what would be your counsel on facilitating increased voter participation on election day? What are the lessons that you would say we have learned?
I like this question because one thing we must take home from this election was that the votes of the people counted. I must tell you that part of their party, one of the critical reasons for their party has always been that votes never really counted. People will come out to vote, and at the end, results will start coming in from here and there. But the new system introduced by INEC clearly enabled votes to count. So building on that, you will now begin to see that people will begin to show more interest in coming to express their franchise. The acclaim that came from the election of Professor Soludo, you could see that it was very popular. That was the feeling of the people. That was the votes given out by the people. And with time, when people begin to notice that their votes will count, you will see that the interest will increase. It never used to be like this. Like you mentioned, I was part of the Second Republic. I was in the MPP in those days of MPP, MPN. People really came out to vote because they knew their votes would count until something happened in 1983. That was when this rigging process in Nigeria started. After the 1983 election, people gradually started losing interest in voting because they were not sure their votes will really count. It got worse in 2007 under Professor Maurice Iwu. But we hope that what we witnessed on the 6th and the 9th is going to bring the people back, because the beaver system, if you are not captured by the beaver deals, your votes will not count. So one thing everybody will say, whether you lost or won, is that every vote that came in on the 6th of November counted. And that is good for democracy.
Okay. Mr. Madukaife,
Yes,
your party, even after congratulating Professor Soludo, has said that they do not accept the results. On what basis, please?
Thank you very much. Yeah, before addressing your question, let me first of all commend Barrister Okoye for agreeing with me on the impressive turnout of voters and the malfunction of the machine, which reduced the number that eventually voted. I have been reluctant to use figures, but I think that if I don't, there will be a misguide. So let's say that 410,000 voters roughly decided the 2013 Anambra governorship election. About 470,000 decided the 2017 elections. And by our own estimation from the control room, about 595,000 people came out. But around roughly less than 250 people were allowed to vote. That's the pointed point we needed to make. Now, to your question,
what's the source of this information that you just gave out? Because even according to the INEC,
our control room,
your control room,
yes,
APC control room.
Oh yes, of course.
Okay, but how do we factor that into the INEC database?
We will not factor it into INEC database. We'll factor it into the public consciousness for the future. I heard you say something about going to the next level. There's nothing like that. And we have said that to the extent of the number of votes that were counted, and considering the tension created by security, created by other factors in this election like no other, we have congratulated the winner. So coming to the issue of having contradiction, I don't think there's any contradiction. We have congratulated the winner. We have told him that we will hold him accountable for every promise made verbally or in written format, and that we will go back to our struggle for Anambra people to have local governments elected according to the demands of the Section 7 of the Constitution and as decided by the Supreme Court.
This info is emanating from your control room. But of course, you can easily be accused of being prejudiced.
Can I come in here?
Well, that is why I was not using the figure. They were private to us. But I didn't want us to be misled. When you begin to say that that's always the pattern, I needed you to see that we went from 410 to 470, and we went further up, but dropped in voting pattern. And it will form the subject of studies. We are not imposing those figures on INEC. We are only using it here for purposes of illustration. So accuse me of prejudice, if you will. After all, the gentleman in the studio, my brother, my own brother, says that they came out to vote because of Soludo's support. That is partisan. I don't want to join issues there. That's his own prejudice. So one prejudice meets another, and there's a balance.
In 2010, but my apologies, Barrister Obiokoye. Let's just talk about these figures.
I wanted to correct that.
Just what you will. But Mr. Madukife, in 2010,
yes, please.
Only 16% of voters in Anambra State came out. In 2013, it rose to 25%. In 2017, it declined to 22%.
Thank you.
Yes.
So in terms of figures, would you say that's progressive or retrogressive?
No, I would like you to go one step further because not everybody is adept at percentages. Now, what did 16% translate to? What did 22% translate to in absolute figures?
16% of the voters in Anambra State in this particular year we are talking about was less than 2 million. Same for the subsequent year.
What was less than what?
Was less than 2 million.
No, 2 million have never turned out to vote. Let's not be bogus.
You're talking about us looking at 16% of what? And that's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah,
16% of the total number of voters. We're talking about the total number of voters on the INEC register.
Yeah, so what did it translate to? How many voters?
No, we are talking about the voter register here. The voter register according to the official voter register, according to INEC, not according to APC control room.
I am not contesting what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm only asking you to help the viewers appreciate us. When you say 16%, what did it turn out to figures so that I would know whether it's faulting the absolute figures I gave?
I'm sincerely trying to understand what you're talking about, so I really cannot.
I can help you.
Okay. I said that I'm very sure that in 2013, 410 persons from Anambra State voted, and that it went up to roughly 470,000 4 years after in 2017. Now, if these percentages translate to faulting these absolute figures, then we'll have something to discuss more. But if they confirm them, then there's nothing to contest anymore. The point I really want us to understand is that as far as the consciousness grows in our state, so do more voters come out. And again, despite all the security challenges, I need you to notice that this particular race was contested by a reduced number of political parties. So at the end, in our own estimation, it was a 9-horse race. Now, when you have 9 active candidates calling people on phone, transmitting their information in the media, it boosts the turnout. So the whole essence of what I'm saying is, for future application, let's not go away with an impression that 200,000 or 250,000 people came out to vote in Anambra State. No, we are guided by the work we have done on the ground to suggest that it is nearly 600,000. But using Anambra as a pilot scheme trashed down the number of voters.
In Anambra State in 2010, the number of registered voters was 1.84 million.
Yeah, that should be around
the number of people who came out to vote in the voter turnout in that particular year was 301,232, 16%.
That's an indictment on ABGA.
You are asking for figures. You are not asking
got to do with it.
You are asking for figures. You are not asking for.
The figures are declared added up to 410.
Okay, you know what? Let me bring in Barrister. Just a second. Let's bring in Barrister Obiokoye. I think he has a thing or two to say about this. Go ahead, please. Barrister Obiokoye. Okay. Okay. If you can unmute yourself, please, so we can hear you, Barrister Okoye. Can you hear me?
You?
Okay, yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. In 2010, that you referred to, I don't know whether my brother from the APC understands that P2B, who won the election, won the election with...
Are we discussing 2010 or 2013?
No, just allow him to talk, Mr. Madukife. Just to hold on, Mr. Madukife. Let him speak.
I'm sure I'm not having a dialogue with Madukife, and I'm speaking to the rest of Nigeria. In 2010, when apparently he was not around, maybe he was still in school, P2B won that election with 92,000 votes. And the total voter turnout, this is real statistics, was 273. That was what was in 2010. And nobody made any noise about it because the people that came out and voted for the person of their choice. It's not about how many people are registered. It's about the people who come out, who did they choose. Yeah. If 10 people come out, then they decide the result of the election. You don't force people to come out. And it's not an index of popularity or unpopularity if a high or low number does not come out. It is the number that comes out that decides who wins. In this election, we all agree there were obvious challenges going to the election. It was a peculiar situation. We've never had a situation like that where people were threatening that there would be a sit at home. People were threatening the whole state with guns, firearms, and things like that. But on the 6th, what is remarkable, like I said before, people came out in measurable numbers, very good numbers. And INEC, given all the circumstances, did its best. Like has been mentioned before, if for any reason the machines did not work properly in any place, it was not peculiar to any particular political party. And nobody can really complain about that. At the end of the day, what we have been able to achieve in this election is that for once in Anambra State, the votes counted. The votes of the people counted. The question of manipulation of votes, manufacturing of votes, we have gone past that. We will only encourage INEC to improve on the new technology. That is the much we can do as responsible stakeholders. And moving forward, we're expecting that in the next election, with a better performance of the device, people will now grow in confidence, showing very well that their votes counted in the last election. That is what we expect from everybody. And we hope that APC, the leader, the national leader of APC has congratulated. The state leader of APC has also congratulated. But we hear people still talking about going to court. Well, people have their rights. When you read some of the things, the complaints, one of them said, with the avalanche of stakeholders that moved from APGA to APC, that now could we have won the election? That is one mistake they keep making with APGA. APGA is not like the usual political party. APGA is more like a movement for people, driven by a special passion, driven by a special sub-regional passion, if not religious passion. But each time they look at APGA like a normal political party. So it doesn't matter how many people that leave. The deputy governor, when he left, we said good riddance, because we know he never used to win his election. And we were proved right. He lost in his polling booths. The man that made the publication for APC, Dr. Jerry Ugokwe, lost in his polling booths, lost in Onobi, and lost in his local government. These as a product of the credibility of the election. It's no more, we've come past the days people go and manufacture votes and come out and make noise. So for everything, let's move forward as a people. Haven't had a very credible election. Let's support the new governor based on terms of advancing the livelihood of the people of Anambra State. The APC cannot determine the basis of the success of the new government. The people of Anambra State understand the contract upon which they have voted for him. These are the things we need moving forward.
Okay. Mr. Madukaife, the election has been lost and won. Now we have to move on. Work has to start. What, in your estimation, is the expectation, or what are the expectations of the Anambra people of their new leader?
Thank you very much. First, let me correct certain impressions. I quoted 3 figures when it comes to votes that counted. That was 2013, that was 2017, and that of 2021. In response, 2010 was infused into it. And someone went as far as saying whether I was in school. Yes, I may have been in school, but I was in the field. It was my calculation that produced that P2B won 25% of the votes cast in 12 local government areas, and therefore didn't win that election. But that aside, the issue I raised, I want to thank everyone for not faulting the figures, because we're talking about 2013, 2017, and 2021. But because we must address the issue you are raising, that means going to the future. Let me first of all say that the Jerry Dokwe he mentioned never spoke for APC and can never be empowered to speak for APC. He skipped the position of the APC as stated by me and signed by me in a statement illustrated in a world press conference and repeated here. I don't know why he did that. For having said that, since 1999, Anambra State has never held a local government election, with the result that the state government appropriates funds meant for the local government. The last we checked, covering 7 years, it amounts to 247.1 billion naira. And what they do is that they give some pittance to people they appoint as so-called caretaker committee, so just to settle the salaries and wages of some local government staff, and the place remains prostrate. No election, no checks and balances. So that is one of the major planks we had going into this election, and we're going to hold them accountable, because it is a matter already settled by the Constitution and the Supreme Court. If that is all that we achieve while being the only opposition party in Anambra State outside the election period, then we will be happy that the people are with us. So let's not preach to the choir. The APC has congratulated the winner of this election based on the background and the factors that were stated. But in the context of the Electoral Act, there are 2 legal persons who can go to court to challenge this process. One is the party, the other is the candidate. The right of one does not obliterate the right of the other. So we concede anyone who may be willing to challenge it. But our advice is to be indoors. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll take a short break, gentlemen, to maybe simmer a little of these things, let them sink in for a little bit. I will return to draw some conclusions. Please stay with us. Hello, bros. Well, thanks for staying with us. So this conversation, I mean, the title of our discussion is Anambra Governorship Election, A New Dawn. And clearly, there's been some differences, largely accredited to be, acclaimed to be free and fair, and of course, credible. So, Mr. Anuzulike, talking about expectations, as you have said, this is who the people want. Question then is, what are the expectations? You said earlier that the reason people don't normally come out to vote is they are dissatisfied with performance before. They are not sure that their votes will count, and they're not happy with the way their lives have been run from the various governments over time, so they don't come out to vote. I mean, it's evidence in the data that we've been struggling with all the while. So the question then is, what are the expectations? How optimistic are you? Are the people that this time around, the votes that has counted will count for something?
Please, I will come back to this, but let me quickly address something that I was accused of sitting here and supporting Soludo, and that won't go very well with our organization. I represent Igbos for a Progressive Nigeria, IPAN, and we're apolitical. We don't support any political party. We say we say what we see, and general feeling in Anambra State is that people are happy that their vote counted. So.
And even APC seems to be happy because they have congratulated the
winner.
The winner.
Okay.
But they are not arguing with the result. They're just arguing with the process. At least that's the way it sounds. But he will speak to that for himself. But
okay. So coming to the expectations, the biggest wish we have.
Oh, he says that's correct. He said that's correct, right? You have issues not with the candidate that won, but with the process.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. So the biggest issue we have in Anambra State right now is insecurity. And during the campaign, Soludo stated how he would tackle the security situation. So we expect him to implement what he said. So we are watching him closely. And when it comes to reviving or improving our economy in Anambra State, of course, he's an expert in that field. He has done a lot, and we've seen what he can do.
In terms of economic improvement, what are the expectations?
I think he will do what we did with the central bank, with our economy. He is very, very good at it, and he sits on board of many international bodies when it comes to economy, and we know that he is going to do that. I don't think there's one particular thing we are hoping. We just want him to improve and revive Anambra State's economy. So he should get better from where he is today, because that's his field. So security, economy, and uniting our people is very important. He said a lot during the debate, and we're going to be watching to make sure that he implements those things. He says economy, security, uniting our people is, for me, is the priority. So I think
uniting your people.
Yeah.
Is there any issue regarding uniting? The unity of the people?
Yeah, actually, because when you come out on Mondays and you see another Igbo people killing you, I think that we are not that united, and that's not very good. So he said good things about stopping issues like that. So hopefully he's gonna make it that we should be able to move around, go to work, go to open our shops without another Igbo person attacking you. We want to be speaking with one voice, feel united, and move on as a people.
Mr. Obiokoye, I'd like to put the same question to you. What are the expectations of the Anambra people, from your perspective? Are you there, Mr. Obiokoye?
I said, I must tell you that the expectations are quite high. And that stems from the very tall profile of Professor Soludo. The people of Anambra voted for him because they believed that he had the requisite profile, the requisite knowledge, the requisite reach, and the requisite experience to turn around the economy of the state. And of course, added to that was what the rare humility of the present governor, who said openly that Soludo was going to perform better than him. We haven't seen any former governor or any predecessor speak that of his successor. That puts a lot of pressure on Professor Soludo. He can't afford to fail because the expectation of the people is quite high. In the area of economy, everybody looks at him as an expert in that area. having been a professor in economics, having gone through central bank and performed wonderfully well, having worked in the World Banks and so on and so forth, consulted for over 25 nations. We are expecting something, like he said, that he was bringing him all this is international experience and national experience, and he's bringing it home to the people of Anambra State. And that is quite a tall order for him. And the much we can do for him is to pray that he succeeds. He will only succeed where there's encouragement, where there's support by the people, where there is unbridled opposition, even when you're doing things right. It does not bring for the progress of a state. That is where the unity of the state comes into play. Irrespective of political leaning, the people must be united in the drive to put the economy right. The people must be united in the drive to secure the environment. So moving forward, we are expecting that he's going to succeed, given his profile. We are also praying that all stakeholders, irrespective of political interests, must unite, knowing that the bigger Anambra is always a venture for all of us.
Well, Barrister, there's something that our guest in the studio here, Mr. Anuzurike, said, that the people felt quite unsafe before the elections. And I don't know if that is just because of the elections or because that's been the trend for a little while. And one wonders what government had done to allay those fears that people had hitherto.
I can address that.
Yeah.
If there's one area you can speak proudly of the current administration, is in the area of security. That was why he won this government of Governor Obiano, won a lot of awards regionally and sub-regionally.
But that's not the experience people have had in recent time.
I'm coming to that.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm coming to address that directly. Whatever you see that's happened in Anambra in the last few weeks, in the last few months, started around February. Around February 2021. Before February 2021, we had a relatively peaceful state compared to every other part of the country. But moving towards the election, and mark my words today, watch out for the security situation in Anambra in the next 1 month. You'll find out that all things were a build-up towards November election. A lot of characters were so desperate about winning the election. They imported all sorts of violence towards that election. And now that the election has come and gone, watch Anambra. You will see that all that pressure, all that gun shooting, all that charade will go with it. Because we've always had safety. We have always had a secured Anambra State in the last 6 years. Like I said, it all started in February. And now that the election is over, we are going to have a peaceful state again.
Okay. Well, Mr. Madukife, your expectations as we get into a new government in Anambra State. You have said, though, that the opposition party in the state, the APC, is going to take the lead in holding the government of the day to account. But what are your expectations?
Thank you very much. You're right, I've dealt in part with that. I am glad that Barrister Okoye never considered it necessary to say something about local government elections. But of course, I expect that they won't have anything to say. I hear him loudly say that there should be unbridled, there shouldn't be unbridled, that was his words, opposition. Even when government is doing right, like in taking 247 billion of Anambra money. I will leave all that and face the future when I say the people of Oba, the people of Ichi, the people of Awuku, and all other places who had no opportunity to vote, they should not feel marginalized. Nobody is doing that because he hates them. They are doing that because a process is failing and it will be redressed better with our pressure. So the people, that the APC will hold the government accountable for every promise it has made. I heard him say that nobody has said his successor will do better than him. No, I heard Peter Obi say that in St. Patrick Cathedral, Oka, that Obiano will do better than him. Peter Obi is disappointed.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. Don't change the narrative.
I'm on the floor. I am holding the floor.
I agree, but don't change the narrative.
Allow him, Barrister Okoye, allow him to, you have a right of response.
Thank you.
But I will not allow him to change the narrative.
Thank you very much. So, Peter Obi feels highly disappointed, and we can only begin to do some repairs because a lot of damage has been done to Anambra State. We crippled all our savings, all our roads degenerated. If we do have to run on the records of APGA, nobody will elect anybody else. So let's just build for the future. When we say we are not going to have a government that will allow to promise that will be independent power projects and fail. We're not going to allow a government that says there will be 4 pillars and fail in agriculture, in oil, in commerce, and industry, only to be given false narratives. What we will do is that we will ask Soludo what he plans to do with erosion, which he gave a very comprehensive theoretical address on. We would like to know what he wants to do with erosion in Anambra State so he don't take away his home. We've already talked about local government. We are going to be watching the internally generated revenue closely because it fell to disaster level under Obiano, and we expect something to improve. And we will say it when we see it. And we will say it with statistics that could not have been faulted here. Thank you very much.
Well, Barrister Okoye, yes, please go ahead. But also address some of the allegations that he made that, you know, where the state's savings was reduced for whatever reason. Please go ahead.
You see, why I laugh is that the campaigns have come and gone, and the people have spoken. If all these rhetorics of his meant anything to the people of Anambra State, then they should have won at least one local government. APC should be ashamed that they could not win one local government. With all these rhetorics, we couldn't have...
They won one.
Oh dear. That's not a good sign.
Oh dear. Mr. Okoye, are you there?
Yes, he's back.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm back. I said, if the people felt the way he was singing, then there was no way we would have won 19 out of the 21 local government areas. And there was no way APC would have not won at least one local government area. One, with all these rhetorics. So the real story is that the people of Anambra have spoken, and that we are moving ahead. We are moving ahead with the best candidate who has won the election to put Anambra in a better projectile. When we talk about local government elections, which he keeps talking about, I remember that the bill for the caretaker transition chairmanship was done around 2003. When the leader of APC was the governor of Anambra State. That was Dr. Chris Ngige. And one thing we have gained is that using that law, there is a synergy between government and the local government in projects. I have always said, show me any local government in Nigeria where the local government chairman has put in as much as 60 million in every community. For us, we had a choose yourself project where we did phase 1, 20 million, phase 2, 20 million, then phase 3, 20 million for every community, 179 communities. This is what we used, part of the money due to the local government in doing. So in Anambra State, every community had a project chosen by them and used by their own resources to the tune of 60 million naira. There's no way in the country it has happened. You may find one or two communities, maybe in Lagos or Kaduna or Abuja, where the local government chairman puts in as much as 50 million, 70 million, but not in every 179. So, but like I said, if all this sing-song meant anything to the people of Anambra State, they would have won one local government. But since the people of Anambra State did not listen to that sing-song, it means that it is not credible. It means that it has nothing to do with the state of affairs in Anambra State, and it has nothing to do with moving Anambra ahead. We have elected the best, and we will all put our hands together, not as destructive opposition, but as constructive people of Anambra State, stakeholders in moving this state forward.
Well, you haven't spoken to what he raised about the savings of Anambra State being...
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The savings of Anambra State.
Yes.
I want to get that.
Well, Mr. Madu, you want to speak to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Governor Peter Obi, who was elected under Afghan, is now in PDP, executed some long-term saving projects for Anambra State for investment. And they took IGR to the level of 1.2 billion per month on the average for Anambra State. These are specifics. Those figures dropped under Obiano, and in terms of position, from 6th, 7th, we dropped to number 25. He should specifically address that, as well as why the government...
Number 25 of which list?
Of state, nominal state revenues across Nigeria.
Okay.
IGR.
Okay? Fine. And then he should speak to the issue of the failure to conduct local government elections.
Okay. All right. That's taken, Mr. Madukife. Yeah. Let Basobi Okoye respond to this in 1 minute, 30 seconds. Please go ahead.
I'll go straight to that of revenue. Let's speak the truth as adults. First of all, revenue under Governor Peter Obi was about 600 million. Under Governor Obiano, he rose to 1.5 billion. That is the truth. Secondly, Governor Peter Obi claimed to have left cash without monumental projects, without legacy projects. What do you leave cash if truly he left 75 billion? Today, we have an international airport that we will have left cash. We have a 10,000 capacity auditorium. We will have left cash. We have a 10,000 capacity stadium. We would have left cash. And so many legacy projects. You see, our own attitude is not about playing to the garage. At the end of the day, we will be proud to show to the people of Anambra State, and that is what they voted for. Like I said, we passed campaign. They raised all these things.
Thank you very much, Barrister Ifeatu Obi-Okoye. Thank you very much, Barrister Ifeatu Obi-Okoye's essay to Governor Obiano on political matters, and he joined us virtually. Also virtually, Mr. Okelo Madukife joined us, and he's the APC Publicity Secretary in Anambra State. And we had Mr. Lawrence Onozulike in the studio with us, and he's President Igbos for a Progressive Nigeria, IPAN. Thank you all very much, gentlemen, for coming to share your perspectives with us this morning. Sunrise will return in just a moment. Please stay with us.
That's not the only Amen song I know.
But we're not going to be asking you to sing, don't worry. We value our senses. So,
well, I just remember one of those songs that I listened to as a child. Not sung by a child, but as a child. You know, but So, by the way, talking about children, is the Universal Children's Day November 30? That's the designation of the United
20.
Nations. 20,
20, yeah.
November 20. And that's next week, Saturday? Yeah. So every year, November 20, the United Nations has designated that date as Universal Children's Day. It's a time to promote togetherness around the world, awareness of the problems children face in every corner of the globe, as well as improve the welfare of children. Every time we talk about, you know, children issues being on the front burner, I only remember, I don't know if you remember as well, International Year of the Child. It was the late 70s or early 80s. We were inundated by everything children in that particular year.
And yet, where did it get us? Are the children in a better place today?
I mean, are those children of those days any...
Well, it's supposed to be celebration of children, whether then or today, you know, children.
Yeah.
But it looks like children are getting, you know...
Well, we get better perspectives of that. Don't, you know...
Preempted. Thank you.
Keep your gunpowder dry.
It's dry. It's dry.
Bamidele Salam joins us this morning. He's representative of Ede North, Ede South, Ibedori and Ejigbo constituency in Osun State. Thanks for joining us this morning on the program. Let's begin this way. How best would you say a Nigerian child should be celebrated?
Well, thank you very much. I think children everywhere are a very prized asset to every generation because they are the custodian of the future. And without the future, of course, you cannot talk about perpetuating, you know, the country, the community, and of course, the world at large. So because of that, every society that is very aware of this significance will always ensure that it puts in place policies, programs, measures, activities that will first and foremost protect the child, because the child is very vulnerable, the child is very tender, and you know, whatever we do today to the child will affect what the child becomes tomorrow. So every society aware of the significance of the historical placing of children will first and foremost put in place programs, policies, activities to protect the child. The second one is to also devise means of promoting the child. And we talk about promoting the child, that is helping the child to discover and develop his or her potential. You know, it's like the heart of a child is what that famous philosopher called a tabula rasa, a very plain slate. Whatever you write on it is what sticks to it. So the society will you also make conscious effort to ensure that you bring out the best in the child, developing the potential of the child, the character of the child, the ability of the child to understand his environment, to master his emotion, and bring out the very best in him in terms of the talent, you know, and the gifts that the Almighty God has deposited in the child. And then finally, every society, in realization of this same fact, will or should put in place a scheme that will afford children opportunities for participation in governance. And this is very important, and we miss this, you know, very often. We just want to talk for the child, we want to act for the child, we want to do everything for the child. We should have a means and a system that listens to the child and that involves children in decision-making at all levels, right from the home. The child has to be involved in critical decisions in the home.
Yeah.
What does the family offer for breakfast, for lunch, and as elementary as those issues are, and then graduate to the school, and then finally to the society, we have to give children a voice and a sense of participation and involvement.
Honorable, just one question came to mind when you began the talk. This Universal Children's Day of the United Nations is not new. 1954, 67 years ago. It means then that if we had sustainably kept all these issues that you're talking about on the burner, we will not have the kind of issues we are having to deal with now. A significant number of out-of-school children, the quality of education that they get, the fact that those children have grown up to be adults now. Many of them have gone into government and gone out of government. So I'm wondering, do you think we have been able to sustain due attention to children, not just as children, but as they grew over the years?
Well, unfortunately, the answer to this question is in the negative. When we talk about we, I'm particular now about Nigeria and about Africa. I think we have not been able to offer the kind of attention that the rest of the civilized world has given to the issue of welfare of the child. And in spite of the fact that the United Nations, like Riley said, has adopted the Universal Children's Day for the 20th of November and has been marking this year, this day, almost every year from 1990. And in spite of the fact also that various countries also have days that are assigned to the celebration of the child, like Nigeria, we have the Children's Day on the 27th of May every year. Issues that affect children have still not been brought to the front burner of our national discourse and of our decision making. You identify some of the problems, for example, and it's quite unfortunate that today we're talking about Nigeria having the highest number of out-of-school children in the world, some 13.5 million children, according to UNICEF, who are out of school. We have incidents of child abuse. We have incidents of child labor. We have, so many other challenges like that affecting children. Our children do not yet have the best of opportunities, in their education. Now, these are the problems. But I want to say that, the good news also is that children themselves are making the best of the situation. And that is the very good thing about the program which the Children of Africa Leadership and Values Development Initiative, which is an NGO that I head, and the Office of the Speaker of the House of Reps are organizing this year to celebrate these children because of what they have done to rise above these challenges. It may interest you to know, for example, that just of recent, we have 2 Nigerian children who have gone to make very great accomplishment. We have a 15-year-old girl, Faith Odose, from Ogun State, who went to an international mathematics competition and came first, globally. We have a young girl also, Dushima from Benue State, who went for the international spelling bee competition, who came 9th globally. Now, these are not main, achievements. They are great achievements. And so some of these children, we decide that we must create a platform for them to be celebrated and to be heard. And so that is why, we're having this dialogue, which we term the National Children's Dialogue, to commemorate the Universal Children's Day this year in the city of Abuja. Quite a number of them. You're also aware of the young girl, Emanuela. Emanuela is just 11 years old. And this is a girl who has made, tremendous impact in the entertainment industry. Her YouTube channel was the first African comedy channel to have 1 million subscribers. Now, these are all, very great achievements. So for children like this and so many others who are rising, above the challenges, we need to give them better recognition, and then we need to also listen to them. So we decided that we're going to bring together children from across the country to gather together in Abuja to discuss issues that affect them. So this is a program not for some professors or from some analysts to come and talk to children, but for policy makers, decision makers, development partners to come and listen to the Nigerian child. So we're going to be driving everything through the perspective of the Nigerian child. They are coming to discuss, they are coming to network, they are coming to lend their voice to how we can attain a more sustainable development for the country, how we're going to ensure that we take up these children from the streets who are out of school, how we're going to ensure that children are protected in the homes, they are protected in the schools, they are protected in the society. So these are some of the things that we decided that we're going to be doing on the 28th of November as we gather together at the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja to celebrate the Universal Children's Day with the Nigerian child. And the theme of the program is the Nigerian Child and the National Unity Project. Nigerian Child and the National Unity Project. It's going to be an awesome gathering of Nigerian children.
Mr. Salam, I hear you clearly. I hear you clearly. But we have the Universal Children's Day, November 20th. We also have Children's Day, which is May 27th. And then Nigeria is supposed to have ratified the children's rights and stuff like that. But all of this seems to be all talk, talk, talk because of the way that children are still treated in our society. And you have mentioned a long list of things that happens to children which should not be happening to them. Child labor, child trafficking, children out of school, early marriage, and the list goes on and on. So this children's dialogue you're talking about, where is this going to get us in the scheme of things?
Okay, now this is very important. Every problem has a solution. There is absolutely no problem that does not have a solution. And so the same with all these problems we have identified. And the solution to every problem begins from talking. That's actually the route which nations of the world
haven't we done enough talking, Honorable?
Is to first talk.
Honorable, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon, Honorable.
It must.
Haven't we done enough talking? We've been talking since 1954.
Absolutely, I'm coming to that. What I'm saying is that the first, and then let me also stress this. There cannot be too much of talking, actually. There cannot be too much of discussion. Because these issues also evolve over time, and there are new, dynamics. There are new realities that always come up at every point in time. Let me give you an instance. The role which technology is playing today in education, just as an example, was not the same role that technology played 15 years ago. And these are some of the issues that also affect the Nigerian child. The Nigerian child, suffers some degree of denial and exposure to harmful content through the misuse of technology in some instances. Some countries of the world, for example, have mandated their telecommunication companies to install apps and devices on all the service that they provide, which will protect the child and ensure that the child is protected from bullying, protected from sex predators, and so many other things. Now, on the issue of the Child Rights Act, I agree absolutely with you that even though Nigeria has passed the Child Rights Act, as I speak with you today, we have almost a third of the Nigerian states that have not domesticated the Child Rights Act, and that is quite unfortunate. And so as we gather together on Saturday, 28th of November for the National Children's Dialogue, we will also be making an advocacy calling on those state governments that have not domesticated the Child Rights Act to please do so. And we're also going to be encouraging, for example, the Lagos state government will be taking an award that day in recognition of the fact that this was the first state to domesticate the Child Rights Act in Nigeria. And Nigerian children will be calling on all other states to domesticate the Child Rights Act as a first step towards ensuring that the right of the Nigerian child is protected. And then above that, we also believe that we should have an assemblage of children from diverse geopolitical zones, diverse faith, diverse age groups, who are going to congregate as a voice that will embark on serious advocacy programs to various parliaments across the states and various state governments to ask for the entrenchment of those values which other parts of the world have entrenched, to protect their children and to create opportunities, for their children, to grow. For example, there was a young girl, who will be talking. There's a young girl who will be talking at the program. Her name is Rene Okocha, who has authored over 40 books together with her sister. And, these are teenagers who are doing extraordinary things. And the idea, that brought about the publication of these books, which they go to schools to donate as a means of reintroducing the reading culture into schools, is absolutely the experience they got while studying in the United Kingdom. So we also want to ensure that the Nigerian child doesn't just go to school, but goes to quality school and receives the best of education. The Nigerian child must have access to books at no cost. No child should, at this century, at this time, be out of school, for whatever reason. We have the means, we have the resources, to drive this process. So at the dialogue session, we've invited quite a number of our leaders. His Excellency, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, has been invited as the special guest of honor. And of course, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, whose office is collaborating with us on this program, is the chief host of the program, the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Minister of Education, the UBEC Executive Secretary, or everyone that has one thing or the other to do with education, to do with children welfare, to do with the protection of the rights of the children, have been invited to come, like I said, to listen to children and sign on to a commitment to do more than we have ever done, before. So we will not just be limiting this to the dialogue, the talking session, the conferencing. No, there will be specific action points coming out of this, that will be followed up by the children themselves, of course, under the mentorship of those, leaders who have taken a commitment to work within the framework of this non-governmental organization, the Children of Africa Leadership and Values Development Initiative, CALDEF, to ensure that more is achieved within the shortest possible time to take away this plague. Okay. Because I call it a plague. If you go everywhere, today if you go even on the streets of Lagos, I was in Lagos a few weeks ago and driving through towards Lekki. I just stopped by a traffic light, and before I knew it, almost 15 children had come around the car with their bowl in their hand, begging for money, begging for food. Now that is a plague. Africa's most populous country should take the lead in advancing the cause of the child, and that is what we have determined that we're going to do in a more pragmatic manner, beginning with this National Children's Dialogue holding in Abuja on the 20th of November.
Okay. Honorable, the theme for this year is the Nigerian child and the National Unity Project. Exactly what does that mean, please?
Thank you very much. Now, there is no doubt in the fact that one of the major problems we have today in Nigeria is the tension amongst the various ethnic groups, affinities and diversities that we have. But it is our view, and indeed this is supported also by historical fact, that the more diverse a society is, the more beneficial it is to that society in terms of strengthening its bond and attracting opportunities from all over the world. I used to tell people whenever I travel out that Nigeria is about the only country that you come to that you can never get bored with the food, you can't get bored with the culture. If you eat the food in the southwest and you are bored, you are tired, you travel to the northeast and you get a different variety of cuisine that you can have. If you do that for another 1 year and you feel you need a change, go to the south and take their kanko, their white soup and everything. If you're tired of that, you go to the southeast. Now, we believe very strongly that most of the conversations that we have around our political discourse on the Nigerian project are wrong conversations. Our conversations should be tailored towards what we have in common rather than the things that divide us. Nigeria is such a blessed country with over 250 ethnic groups. And the best drivers of this should be our children, because children are the most, let me use the word, innocent of creatures. I schooled in Sokoto, had my primary education in Sokoto. I grew in a school where we had Igbos, we had Hausas, we had Fulanis, we had Nupes, we had Yorubas, growing together. We never had knew any distinction. We visited each other very freely, we mixed very freely. Now let us build on the advantage of these children's innocence and the purity of the heart of the Nigerian child to exemplify what the Nigeria of our dream should be. And that is the Nigeria where a Chukwuemeka from Enugu State can live in Katsina and claim that Katsina is his home state and aspire to be anything he wants to be in Katsina, where a Hassan from Maiduguri can come to Ibadan and say, well, I've lived here for 25 years, I can conveniently claim that this is my state. In Nigeria, where the language we speak, the faith that we profess will not divide us, but will rather make us to see that, okay, I have something that I can leverage on in my partnership and relationship with my fellow citizen to build this country. So that is why we have chosen this theme. And you agree with me that there's no better time to discuss this than now, when you have a lot of separatist movements, a lot of discussions around pulling out and what have you, to bring our children together, to discuss together in a very friendly atmosphere, in a very loving atmosphere, and share thought together, network together, and project the kind of Nigeria that we are looking at, for tomorrow. So that is the motive behind the choice of the theme, and quite a number of children speakers have been selected to come and talk on different aspects of the theme. There's a young lady, Fatima Mohammed Mafi from Borno State, who has a very excellent story to tell about her experience growing up in that part of the country and what she has experienced as a girl child going to school in Borno State. She's a part of the panel that is coming to discuss. We're also partnering with an organization called the Sea Hope Foundation in Lagos, where quite a number of children will be coming from there, to discuss on the impact of government policies and programs on the growth of children, especially in urban areas of our country. How are we planning for children in urban areas? What are we bringing up as policies to ensure that children in urban areas do not suffer the kind of abuse that they suffer today? You have a lot of molestation, a lot of abuses that are going on, in various homes, in various
Perhaps
schools.
a good way to begin that,
various other communities
to address those issues,
these are some of the issues that we're, we're discussing.
A good way
to
begin to address those issues is to stick with some of the provisions and expectations of the Constitution, which I'm very sure you're well aware of, because the foundation of the Child Rights Act, which Alera has been talking to you about, is in the Constitution. I'm sure you're aware of it. Section 18 specifically speaks to that, that especially Section 18 sub 1 captures the needs, the educational needs of the children in the catchment that you are talking about, the 1 and 2. Section 18 sub 3A and B. Government shall strive to eradicate illiteracy, and to this end, government shall, as and when practicable, provide A, free, compulsory, and universal primary education, B, free secondary education. Let's stop there. Do you see how what are the things that you would say has made this impossible over the years? It's not just something for now. You're lawmakers, you know that this is in the Constitution. How come these things are not done the way it ought to be done? That's one question. In the same vein, let's talk about the education policy. I know it's an executive function, but is there anything that from this engagement that you're talking about that can provide a lead, a guide, a sustainable promise that the children in this generation will be able to look back another 10 years or 20 years from now to this event and say, this is where we got it right, and that's how come my life is the way it is?
Thank you very much. Now let me address the first part of your question. You asked why, in spite of the fact that we have, these provisions in our laws, in our Constitution, we have yet not been able to provide that which we committed ourselves to providing for our children. And the simple answer is lack of willpower. I always say that everywhere. I don't believe that there is a state in Nigeria that cannot offer a free and compulsory basic education for its children. The first 9 years of a child's life growing up, there is no state in Nigeria that does not have that capacity to provide free, compulsory education for children in its state for the first 9 years. So I admit I am a part of the leadership of this country as a member of the National Assembly. I take part of the responsibility, and I say it is lack of willpower. And that willpower is what we should, drum into the ears of those who have the responsibility, to do such. Now, talking about the laws, one other thing that we need to do, which other countries of the world have done, is that when you give children a voice, let me give you an example. Even in our various homes, you and I are parents. When your child is aware of certain things and makes a case concerning those things, if he makes the case the first time, the second time, by the third time, you have this feeling in you that I cannot deny this child. And children, they hold you to your word. When you give a commitment to a child, he doesn't even believe that you don't have the capacity. If you want to kid with the child, don't joke with the child that you're going to give him an aircraft as a birthday present. The child believes you and will make a demand out of it. So one of the things we do in the CalDev is that we also embark on advocacy to ensure that our children also have the appropriate knowledge and awareness about what the law says on them. We have a book, for example, that we're going to present on Saturday that is 160 questions, 160 things every child should know about the Nigerian Constitution, the Child Rights Act, and every law. A child should be able to hold leaders accountable, but he can only do that when he has the appropriate information. So we gathered 160 questions. So it's written in this question and answer format, which talks about 160 things every child should know about the Nigerian Constitution, the Child Rights Act, and other laws, which we are going to present, on that day. I just use that as an example to show you that one of the other things that we need to deepen is our civic education in schools. Children have to know what rights they have by the rules that adults have made for them. They didn't make the Child Rights Act, for example. But we passed the law. State domesticated the law. So why should we not stand by what we promised that we're going to do for them?
Well, questions and questions,
the more education we give unto them, the more awareness we give unto them, the more we empower them to be able to be advocates and to ask the relevant questions from leaders of this country, which they will be doing in a more sustainable manner, going forward. So this is one of the outcomes that we expect from this National Children's Dialogue that is holding on Saturday, by the special grace of God.
We'll definitely look forward to it, not just as an event, but as a sustainable one, and one that can be cascaded down to the subnationals, both at the state and at the local government levels, because that, you may want to agree with, is where it will really have a long-term effect on the people, and it will drill down, because, hey, how many children can really come to Abuja, for this event? But for now, we have to thank you. We haven't even been able to look at so many aspects of this whole thing, because what concerns the adults concerns the children, because they will eventually become adults. We haven't talked about the impact of culture, of religion, of things that are important to adults today that we are consciously or unconsciously passing on to the children. For now, we have to let you go. Honorable Bamidele Salam is a representative representing Ede North, Ede South, Ebedori, and Ejibo constituency in Osun State. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. We look forward to seeing you also on Saturday at the National Children's Dialogue at the Yaradua Center in Abuja.
Well, we'll be expecting our personal invitation.
Oh, sure.
Sunrise continues in a moment. Do stay with us. Well, which is the superior brand, the male brand or the female brand? We haven't gotten to that contest yet. It's only between a man and the wife, or the wife, a woman and the husband, that you can find out that. You can see that someone is suddenly quiet after very. Anyway, let me save you there. I want to talk about Superbrands. The Superbrands Nigeria offers consumers, that's you, significant emotional and/or physical advantages over competitors, which consciously or subconsciously consumers want, recognize, and are willing to pay a premium for. Where is that coming from? More of that you hear from the president, Superbrands Nigeria, Sebastian Okeke. He joins us here in the studio. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Don't answer that question of which of the genders is a Superbrand. Don't answer that.
No, I won't venture into that.
Because you are going back home.
You won't even try, because they're waiting for you at home.
I will start off that.
But tell us about this this idea. What's the idea behind the Superbrands?
Thank you so very much. So one of the things that we see regularly is every organization, every brand wants to be out there in the market. And the game plan is to have the capacity to express its existence in terms of what the promises are to the consumers. Now, behind the existence of the brand are other institutions that make sure that the brand represents the brand promises. So you talk about the standard organizations, for example, that want to be sure that the quality is maintained and the brand comes up with the promises of having met the criteria to be consumed by the consumers. Or you talk about NAFDAC, for example, that ensures that for food and drug items, it meets that same benchmark. Internationally, talk about the International Organization for Standardization, which is ISO. They ensure that the brand framework in terms of processes, systems, financial management practices, talent management practices, and so many things are all within international standard. So the question has always been, so who measures consumers' feedback? Remember the saying, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So the ultimate voice must come from the consumers to say, okay.
So the taste of the pudding is not in the production?
Not exactly. It's in the consumption.
I mean, I wanted that to sink in.
Oh, yes, clear. It's in the consumption. So the consumers who are at the receiving end of the entirety of the whole processes, who takes count of their voices?
So a super brand is determined by the consumer.
Absolutely.
So how do you measure that?
Oh, great. So in 1994, Marcel Nobel came up in the United Kingdom and said, I have seen that we have different ways of measuring quality, processes, systems, but how do we track the consumer feedback? And so he came up with the Superbrand project and says, let's go to the consumers from an independent perspective. In other words, not from the producers now saying, assess me, but from an independent body that's able to assess and track and measure and report consumer feedback. And that's how Superbrands was vetted. Today, in 90 countries of the world, all of Europe, all of the United States, Canada, all over the place, every year, brands are subjected to very distinct and clear framework of determining what the consumer says. And so in Nigeria, we have Superbrands Nigeria. And so the council met and engaged the service of Kantar to lead the research process. So after the research was done, the council met again to review the research. Of course, the Nigerian council is headed by Dr. Abiodun Shobanjo, and we have Dr. John Momo on council, and we have Dr. Bayo Adekombi, who is also the convener of Data Science Nigeria on council, and we have Mrs. Ronke Bameka on council, Professor Mrs. Ogwezi in this University of Lagos on council, and we have engineer Rafael on council. We have all of those guys on council.
To answer Alora's question, ask Alora's question a little clearer. How do you measure the consumer's feedback? By directly engaging with the consumer via a research engagement, independent research engagement that are predominant, that are clear criteria. There are 3 first-line criteria, which is quality, reliability, and distinction from the consumer feedback. Then there's the 10-point criteria, which have to do with trust, the relevance of the brand, and of course, the consumers recollect and the consumers connect with the promise of the brand. Each brand has made a promise to the consumer. So did the consumer feel the promise when experiencing the brand? Are you sure people don't just, because there is a difference between the brand and the product?
Oh, yes, correct.
Now, are you sure people even understand the difference?
Oh, yes, correct.
Between a brand and a product?
Yes,
is there such a thing, in your opinion or from your experience?
Yes, correct.
Is there such a thing as brand loyalty to a particular product?
Oh, yes. I mean, over the years, you come to realize that we have increasingly progressively better educated consumer. And so you will expect that the consumer awareness, there are different forms of activities, marketing activities, intensity in terms of consumer education programs. Everything goes on to enjoin the consumer to connect clearly. So oftentimes the consumer may align to a product because of trust to the brand. So the brand is, let's say the brand is Channels, okay, as a brand. And then the product itself probably will be a newsprint or whatever, anything that represents that. The consumer, okay, if I'm connected to this brand equity, then I'm also believing that the brand proposition will reflect in this product range. Yeah, it's possible. But the bigger picture is that is why in the assessment of Superbrands, we interrogate both the brand proposition and the feedback on the product itself. So not just saying because the brand is known, then automatically the product passes. No, the brand is known, yes, but does the brand promise reflect in the product quality, in the product's feel and taste, in the product's engagement with the consumers?
In such a way
in such a way,
engender brand loyalty.
Brand loyalty, yeah, correct. So in other words, if the consumers feel this product has consistently represented the promise, then the consumer connects with that product. And it may be impressive to you to see that in the range of some of the brands that were profiled, some products scaled through, some did not. So which means the products were from the same organization, the same brand going around, but some products were able to make it and some couldn't just scale through.
I'm still, what you're saying, I mean, it makes common sense, you know, but the question around the credibility, so to speak,
correct,
of the research findings.
Yes,
it's
correct.
not to poo-poo the process,
yes, correct,
or the effort.
Yes, correct.
It's the, you know, a number of people will be asking questions as to, wait a minute, does this really represent the true picture out there?
Absolutely.
For instance, there are some products that have become generic, so to speak, to the needs. Okay, like, okay, for instance, you want to buy toothpaste, for instance, there is a particular name that comes to mind.
Yeah.
You want to buy a seasoning cube, for instance, there's a particular name that has become generic.
Yeah.
You want to buy
noodles.
Noodles, for instance, there are some names that have become generic to the product. So for you to, for this research, for instance, to come out and say, okay, well, in these categories, these are the popular ones, but they didn't scale through. That's why I'm asking questions about the credibility.
Okay, so firstly, you need to determine the credibility of the research process. And that is taken care of by the council. The council ensures that there's a proper assignment of the research process. That is number one. Number two, when the research outcome is brought to bear, the council sits again. Remember, the council is the conscience of the awards. And so they sit again because they hold the governance mace over the process. Sit again and interrogate the entirety of the process to the point of how did you arrive at this? Where did you go for this? What happened here? And that meeting, I couldn't be prouder of the integrity of council. When council interrogated every detail of the report that was submitted, presented, every detail. And the chairman, Dr. Shumajo, is saying, we can't put our name until we are certain that this will pass the taste of every check anywhere.
Let me also ask you another, maybe a little provocative or rather intriguing question.
Yes, correct.
What for you, as president of Superbrands Nigeria, has been the most shocking experience in the whole process?
You know, you seem to have this feel that this brand
is it.
Then the reports show up, and you're looking for the brand, you can't find it.
I don't believe it.
And you can't find it. And you see, it's such that, so council sits and interrogates.
How is it possible?
How? But when you look at the data, remember, one of the things that don't often lie is data.
No, it doesn't lie at all.
I get it. So you look at data and you're saying, oh, wow. So on the back of this data, we can endorse this. But despite the fact that the data is on the table, you also need to validate, you also need to check the validity of the data, the reliability of the data. And so the instruments of Superbrands, and that is why it has remained that independent, largest global arbiter of brands and branding, because it's independent of the organizations. They don't even know the research is going on.
Yeah.
Until the research is announced. They don't know it's going on. And not only the research is announced, the result and the ratified result is announced. So, for instance, after the first run was done, there were 1,040 brands that showed up, first scale. They went to the second scale, it fell to 470 brands. They went to the final scale, it fell to 300 and something brands. And because at each time, the intentionality of the process is to keep on proving to the point where there's a certainty that this brand is a super brand in this category.
How far-reaching is how widespread is the net drawn for this research? There are 36 states.
Absolutely.
And there are speculative 200 million people in Nigeria.
Yes, correct.
What's the sample size? How far and wide did the research go to?
Okay, great. So that beautiful question. So what Kantar did? Because firstly we had to use Kantar. One, because we could be credible, universal, global standard, and they also involved in some other countries on super brands. So what they did in Nigeria was to select a couple of major cities using the same rule in sample population for research. So they selected major cities and they deployed two routes because it was done in the heat, it started in the heat of the COVID era. So they had to use two routes. One was engaging their telecommunications, asking those fundamental questions, and then went on street to street, home to home, and got field reports as well. So it was a comparison of both reports to be sure that there's a bit of balance in that here.
Okay. How is this project funded? I don't know if, I mean, from some of the things that you have said, some big brands didn't become super brands. So I'm wondering, if I'm not going to be there, I'm a big product and Alero is a bigger product and I maybe shouldn't make it. I'm just trying to wrap my head around. How is the project funded?
Okay, so the super brand process goes through independent assessment of brands. When the brands are...
Sorry.
Yeah.
Start at the beginning. How does the process begin?
Okay, which process now? The process of...
a super brand.
Okay, fine. So, firstly, the super brand council. It starts with the council.
Okay.
The council, after it's been constituted as a conscience and a governance platform in each country, okay? Then this council now says, we're going to commission the research firstly. So the first line is to commission the research. Okay. So upon the council inauguration, the council commissions the research by appointing first a research organization that will lead the research. That organization goes out there and conducts a robust, country-wide research, depending on specifics and scope. And after that is done...
I'm reading somewhere that participation is by invitation. So what does that mean?
That is upon the selection. So the brands are not aware. They are oblivious of what is going on.
Okay.
So upon the process being completed and the brands are now nominated and ratified by Superbrands Council, then the brands are now invited. So it's not a case of the brand saying...
only at that point do they become aware that they're actually being considered.
Absolutely. Not in a case where the brand says, okay, I want you to profile me. No, the brand is not aware of that. I qualify. No, yes. The brand doesn't do that. Okay. The brand just says that, and the brand just gets notified. See, you are not aware. We're doing this. We're checking out on you. We're talking to your consumers. We're getting the fee from XYZ market spread. This is what the outcome finally is for you. Congratulations. Then you are formally invited to be listed on Superbrands.
Okay.
How many categories are captured in this project?
So for the first one, we actually had about 95 categories across all brands.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. In some markets, like in UK, they had over 100 categories. And it's so huge. It's so intense.
Yeah. What are the objectives of Superbrands, the project? What are the objectives?
So why do we recognize excellence? Why do we celebrate excellence? Remember, one of the major, one of the key factors in recognizing excellence is to sustain excellence. So when you celebrate what is good, you are saying, keep doing what is good. So one of the key objectives for Superbrand is first to recognize the exceptional brands in their categories and across market. And number two, that process of celebrating them, recognizing what they've done, is an endorsement of what they do, and then a push to keep doing it over and over again. Because when you celebrate what is good, you are creating a deliberate commitment on the part of brands to keep doing what is good. Ultimately, the consumers are better off.
The challenge, one of the challenges that one might, look at there is that there's been that accusation that there are certain brands, certain global products, let me use the word products, that where the Nigerian versions of those products are seemingly watered down compared to those in our other climes. Is there any way in which this project ventures into that aspect? Okay, so you will know that there are different players in the processes of validation of brands. Different players. I've mentioned that we have the quality checks done via the lines of production. That is not what we do. All right. Okay. So in terms of whether the quality of the product is watered down or not, it should be tracked by the quality checks. However, the aspect that Superbrands can do is when we go to the market to engage with the consumers of this product and the consumer says, this is just crap. It just doesn't meet it. I've tasted this product X, Y, Z. Remember again, Superbrands is situated within local markets. Yeah. A global standard, globally validated, but localized. So if you say I tasted product A in the United Kingdom, in London, for example, and it was this way, I tasted Nigeria is this way, you will not carry over the taste of UK to assess the product in Nigeria. So you don't do anything about the standards of those products? No. But when you notice over and over that you're not coming up in that category, then you are saying something to that brand. Okay. And the brand should read the handwriting quickly and get their ass together. Nigeria's most popular soft drink is not here. Which is that? How is that? Did they fail? I'm not going to call their names. Okay. They have to pay for that. You know what I'm talking. You know the one I'm talking about. They're not there. What happened? They failed. Well, that's what he talked about. They're a category, like I said, they're category leaders. So it's possible that, for example, they have about 90-something categories. So it's possible that some of those products came up tops in their categories. What you see here is top in market. So it's possible that the drinks you talk about came up in their categories and they're there. And they're there. Yes, all those drinks you talk about are in their categories. Okay. But in terms of the market, this is the market. This is now the overall check across all products, all markets, all of Nigeria. This is by Nigeria. We have now the top 10. But in terms of market, there are top 5 in each category that has been credited. For this. The only one I see here in the banking industry is not a bank. Okay. You were saying. So what is the greatest benefit of being a super brand? Okay, so when you earn the status, it's like the Grammy, it's like the Oscars. It's like saying, I'm not just a player in this market. I play very well. I respect my consumers. I recognize their taste. And the consumers have given me the endorsement. Great work. Do more. That particular bragging rights is beyond anything you can imagine. And you know what happens with awards? Once you win an award like the Grammys, your price goes up. I hope that's not also being engendered here. But let me ask you, sorry, before you ask, still on this matter that I just asked now. Yeah. So when I become a super brand, for instance, do I have a stamp on me showing that I'm a super brand? Yes, there is. Okay, let me announce because for your platform. As it happened, in the TV category, your brand came up as a super brand, and which is true. Did we pass? Yes, you did. Okay, all right, that's good then. Okay, it's true. Now, but now, so what does it say? It says we went to your consumers, to your viewers. We went to those. But there are those who will argue that isn't that because one of the council members? Thank you. Fine, that's beautiful. One of the things that happen is when such brands that has relationship, association with the members of council are in discourse, there is a recusation part of it that the council members you can make a comment on that brand.
You can't make any comment on that brand. And you see, you can never have people who are not associated with brands. Because by virtue of the composition of the council itself, you must have been proven to be credible in your industry, proven to be sound in what you do, proven to have been a leader in that sector before you can even show up to be on council.
I'm looking forward to that day when we have like maybe 50 or 60% of members of council who you have to have that kind of conversation over. Don't answer that one yet. Have you had any kind of backlash? Because I mean, a project like this sometimes would raise eyebrows in some areas. Of course, some people who would say, "No, I don't believe it." Have you had any such experience?
Especially, I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of brands. And they're talking about few hundreds that get to the finishing line. So you will expect that there will be a couple of concerns. You even have instances where people I receive a call, someone says, I discovered because the list is on the platform, my brand is not there. I want my brand to be there. And we say, sorry, your brand can't be here because your brand didn't make
qualify.
It. Simple.
You didn't say how much will it take.
I mean, exactly. So, sorry, your brand can be
because oh my God, that's graft. Obvious graft.
So that faces there. Do you not have instances where people say, okay, if my brand didn't make it, then what brands made it?
Yeah.
In my category. Because these are relevant questions. So, okay, so what you want to check out is to see, okay, what was the criteria? So and then probably you now see, just a quick one, you now see that, when you now see the master list, for example, you now see that brand showing up maybe somewhere, some meters away from the cutoff point. So it's not a case that the brand wasn't coming along, but the brand wasn't there yet. But in the perspective of the owners of the brand, they feel they should be there.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what you said the other time about, some, brands that one would expect would make it, that they didn't make it. So against that backdrop, I'm just wondering, how that is managed, at the end of the day. How is that managed?
Okay, so, every year there are best productions of movies and films. And not all directors make it to the last lap. So every institution, that is one of the credibility of the institution. When you look at the people behind the brand, behind the organization, look at the credibility of those guys, you ask yourself, will they have any personal benefits that I don't make it? So what's the need for them if I'm not on the list? It's in our best interest that all the best of brands come up tops. But the fact means that the voice is the voice of the consumers. And the beauty of it is that you cannot create the voice for one who has not spoken.
So essentially what this project is about is it's to provoke excellence. As opposed
to recognize, firstly to recognize work being done, then to provoke more to be done, because ultimately...
Not only by the people who won, but by those who didn't win.
Absolutely.
To displace the people who did.
Exactly, so that ultimately the consumer is better off.
Any room for graft?
You know the beauty of this?
I don't see it.
No.
Because it's the research company that's going to do it, not the
absolutely.
Superbrands
it's so difficult to come to that point where that could happen. But I'm just telling you some of the things that happens when someone calls you and says, my brand should be there. I say, sorry, your brand is not there. And it's not there. So work for next time. And next time, the guy is going to put so much of effort to show that brand stood up, and the market still speaks back again. And someday, as the market keeps speaking, as the guy keeps improving the quality of work, the voice of the market will speak. And that is where I enjoy what I do, sitting with council and seeing how we navigate through the processes of recognizing these brands. They have not solicited for it. They didn't ask for it. Most of the global international awards, you actually offer yourself to be assessed by applying to be reviewed. In this case, you didn't apply to be reviewed. It was done independent of you.
Is there any relationship with the standards standards measuring agencies in Nigeria, like the Standards Organization of Nigeria, like NAFDAC at least?
Okay, so directly, no. In terms of if we work together, no, we don't. But the beauty of independence of work is that when there is multiple collaboration of the same facts, then there's safety for the consumers of that product. So when the International Organization for Standardization says you have met the threshold for your production processes, for your telemetry system, for your internal whatever, fantastic. When the Standard Organization of Nigeria, okay, established by its own Act of 1976, says, oh, you have also met the requirement, and then Superbrand now comes and says, all of this you've done led you to push your product to the market, and the market have reviewed your product, and your consumer says, thumbs up. This is the proof of that. That should give you a sense of comfort that you're doing something great here.
How many local...
Unsolicited, yes.
Yeah.
How many Nigerian brands made it?
Quite a lot.
Oh.
Quite a lot. Yeah.
Not just the...
Not just in quite a lot. And it was... okay, so we didn't set out to look for Nigerian brands or global brands. We just set out to look for brands.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking
so,
because
at the end of the day,
you're also
at the end of the
saying...
day, a number of Nigerian brands made it. And I mean, it's so exciting to say that people are deliberately and intentionally doing what is right. And to now see that that which is right they are doing is being reviewed by someone else, independent, with credibility behind the review processes, and now comes and says, you are a super brand. That is a seal of endorsement of excellence.
I think this is very consoling for the consumer as well. To know that the brand that you have chosen as your favorite brand is a super brand.
Absolutely.
Somebody independently has assessed it on your behalf and has put a stamp of quality on it.
On it, yeah. And then on 27th of this month, will now be what we call the Night of Tribute. That's the night where all the brands who had been recognized show up in one of the most glamorous nights of branding anywhere in the world. And they go through that process of receiving the accolades and those recognitions. It's such a beautiful night.
Okay, so they get an award, right?
They get a shield, okay. And some of them will get a crested. For example, the top 10 will get a gold-plated crested certificate of distinction, which is going to be placed right at the corporate headquarters of the organization. And it's so you walk in there and you feel this sense of wow. It's been worth the while. And so for the marketing team or for the production team, it's an endorsement to work.
For anyone who is interested in getting more information about this or understanding what Superbrands Nigeria is doing, is there a website?
There's a website, www.ng.superbrands.com.
ng.superbrands. And what are we going to find there?
All the details, everything about the Superbrands, the clientele all over the world. Globally, we have about 37,000 clientele all over the world. Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. Okay, yeah. I'm there right now. What's a Superbrand? And takes us through all kinds of things. Superbrands clients 37. Whoa, SBTV video views 9 million. Whoa. Well, this is definitely something to look forward to.
Very
the fact that we are now getting certified products without soliciting for it.
Yeah. That is the best part. Without solicitation, they're not even aware that you're doing this research on them.
Absolutely.
This is very interesting. Wow. And we can only thank you for the good work you're doing and wish you well. Much. You and everyone on the team. Sebastian Okeke is President Superbrands Nigeria. Thank you for your time and your thoughts.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Next, Alera's favorite part of the program, the home stretch. We'll be back.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, she was born in Ogun State. And, well, she did her school certificate in Ijebu-Ode and went on to Polytechnic and then went on to the University of Lagos.
This is sounding more like a quiz question right now.
You know her as Princess Dami. I know her as simply Princess. Princess, Good to see you again after so many years.
Yes.
Please call her like my people, and I'm sure you must have heard it before. Princess.
Some people even call me Prince. Is allowed.
Please, in my part of the country, we used to call it Princess.
Ah, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to be here.
How's the comedy world?
Well, it's there. It's good.
It's too funny.
Yeah, we're trying to be funny. We're trying. I'm trying to be. You know. So, I mean, we'll get there.
Get where?
I'm up and coming now.
Eh?
You know.
Up and coming. Princess, I interviewed you more than 10 years ago, so you're not up and coming.
Okay, I'm coming.
Or not up?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we are not up there.
You are coming.
I'm coming.
Okay, you are still coming.
Yes, ma'am.
When do you want to arrive?
Very soon, by God's grace. I'm arriving tomorrow.
We thank God for that.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't seen you in a long
Yes, ma'am.
time.
Yes, ma'am.
What have you been up to?
Well, I was stupid for a little while. Then, meaning, you know, I had some challenges, and instead of getting up, I stayed down for too long. So I was silly. Yeah, that's why I said, you asked what I was doing. I was being stupid for a little while. Okay. Then,
you've gone past stupidity.
You
now.
know, the reality, you know, jolted back, prayed, walked, got up, and I'm back up. So,
bubbling as usual.
We thank God. So,
yes, well, before we came on air, you mentioned something about cooking.
and you were shocked. So I've been.
Tell me about that.
So the truth is, I started cooking in Federal Polytechnic, Ilaro. That's where I had my first degree in electronics engineering. I just needed to clear the air. Okay. Yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah.
You are not just going to walk away from that.
No, because she just said Federal Polytechnic. She didn't say what I studied, so I just had to put it there.
Thank you.
Before people start thinking I'm not intelligent.
What will make people think?
Because you think because I'm a comedian, or I'm short, I'm fat, or my voice is deep.
Who is complaining?
A lot of people.
Have you seen the complaints?
A few, just a few.
Okay, so that's why you allowed yourself to be stupid, as you said.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
I will get you. You know I will get you. You know, anybody can make mistakes. So that time of stupidity was a mistake. But now we are back.
Okay.
We're back. And like I said, I started doing food in Ilaro. People would come to my house, eat. I continued in Unilag, where I also got another degree in theater arts. You know, I got into study civil surveying engineering and then civil engineering in Unilag. So that's it. So some years ago, a friend of mine came to see me with his friend. They came the first day, second day, and then the third day, he says to me, the third time they came, he says to me, "Is this how you give, like, you know, like, I don't know, entertain your guests all the time?" I said, "Yes, every day, you know." Then he said, "Why don't you sell this?" I said, "Why will I sell it? All of my friends know I cook very well. They come, I give them food." He said, "No." I thought about it, I started, and that was it. And I didn't see that guy until July this year, from 2010.
Like,
no, he wasn't even a student of uni. He just advised me, and that was it. And so if you go to Unilag now, EMEM stores, you see my food. I have in a couple of supermarkets I supply and all that. But at trade fair and other food fairs, I try to attend every year. This year's trade fair, best jollof fries, best of father, princess's stand.
Wait,
As in, come on now.
You mean?
She says, "Come on now."
All that contest about Sierra Leonean jollof, Ghana
jollof.
The best is just princess. You know what? I'm not even bragging. Just eat it. That's it. I'm not saying serious. I don't care. The best jollof.
Where can we place order, please?
You can place order now. Give me money now.
Give me money now. Look at this devil woman.
Or you come to CBS today. When I leave here, I'm going there. People are waiting. My customers are waiting. Just come. Ask for the jollof fries or that of father by Princess. It's different. Funny enough, it was a guy that taught me how to make the ofada. He was a member of this group, Ofada Boy. They were friends. And he taught me. And then I now reinvented it.
Okay.
So Ofada Boy, if you're listening, you get. So this is me. I'm just good. You get. And now, the more I cook and serve people, the more beautiful I become.
So wait. So is the cooking now pushing the comedy to the background?
No, it isn't. What happened is a couple of people actually called me for events then, but like I said, I was too silly. They were feeling pity for myself, you know. So I started resuming shows like about last year fully, and then, you know, more people have been calling another, but you know, private events, they don't really advertise them except it's all these are shows. So, but cooking is not pushing. That was the mistake I made when I started. Somebody said to me, you need to tone down your cooking because people will think you're no longer a comedian, which I did. Now look at people abroad. You see people making millions, multiple sources of income. So I said, Nigerians just have to accept it.
Wait,
you are a cook, you are a comedian.
I'm a chef, man, not a cook.
Wait, just 1 second.
Chef.
I want to accuse her.
Okay.
So, Princess, you are one of the people responsible for food insecurity in Nigeria.
How?
You stopped cooking.
Yeah, because people were confused. They were like, Princess is no longer doing comedy and all that. That she's now full time.
The vice president needs to invite you.
Why?
Because he has been saying that we need to push up food security. And so you are one of those people. You stop cooking.
We are just discussing this thing.
She has gone back to cooking.
You have taken it to...
She has gone back to
It's
the
a
cooking.
national problem.
No, not now. Everybody will tell you that I'm so good. I'm such a patriotic Nigerian. And I will defend myself. At trade fair, I sell per plate, normally, 3K. But because it's trade fair, I want to serve my country. I'm selling 100 naira. Go and report me and let's see who we...
100 naira per plate.
100 naira per scoop.
I am Oja.
If you go anywhere, you will see that 100 naira. I'm telling you.
So if I want to order now, you sell it to me 3,000 naira.
It's per plate because what I will give you is what they call the princess portion.
Baba.
Yeah.
You can't finish it. It's a season film. Sorry, let me... Excuse me. If you
Get all her dignity back.
Yeah, you're gonna... Because if people like Shafi sees me, Shafi will be like, oh, come on. You know Shafi, she's so premature. So if you order my...
Don't deceive yourself. Come back to the princess.
I beg.
Okay. Just
The one that we know.
Fans.
The one that we know.
My Tush fans.
So you have
The princess portion is large, is lovely, and
When you are done deceiving yourself.
Are you done?
yes.
Good. Now back to earth. Now, you're acting as well. How's
Yes.
that going?
Fantastic. So I have this friend, we're in school together. I've known him for like 20, 21 years. We call him Kayode Peters. You know, we used to run stage productions and all. And then
Oh
recently...
yeah, he's in Flatmates, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. So I shot a movie recently, Crazy Grannies, You Need to See It. It was in cinemas July, August, September, Crazy Grannies. I did my movie, which I released last year. That's Body Bag. Everybody needs to watch Body Bag. It's
Do you
my
have
true life
Netflix?
story. No. But it's
you need to...
Body Bag. It also explains part of my stupidity then. So
No,
because
body
I'm going
bag,
back
when
now.
you hear body bag, is somebody that has died.
Come on now. Go online, go to YouTube, check Body Bag. No, I'm not dead. I'm here. I can't be more real.
Princess,
Yeah.
Pele,
I'll give you jollof rice. You behave yourself so you
do
get
you
jollof
have
rice.
it? Did you bring it?
I brought it, but my PA it's in the car. I can get
Excuse
another
me.
one. Do you know we are? My fans are watching. They will see you bullying me for jollof rice.
It's only not
We're
your friends,
bullying
so
you
it's
for jollof rice.
Look,
This is going on
I have
record.
told you. Vice President
Has heard.
Then I'll talk to my lawyers to write a petition against you
for what?
for bullying me on your program because of jollof
But
rice.
you
And
said,
reporting you to the vice president.
Come tomorrow for my show.
no wait.
There'll be
You-
excess jollof rice.
We'll come there. We'll come
Where?
to that one. But you said you stopped cooking at some point
Hey,
because
but
you were
I've
stupid.
resumed now. Can't you forgive
No,
and forget?
the law was alive before then. Yes. So
Ma,
we
Say
cannot
something.
something. So you see,
Nigerians, please forgive me for stopping the cooking for a while. Now I'm back.
Okay.
Nigerians have accepted.
No, you know that the moment I eat your jollof rice, I'm going to come here and talk about it to the whole
Good.
world.
So come tomorrow, my show.
I'm not coming to your show to come and eat jollof. I'm coming to your show to watch you, not to eat jollof rice.
People who are coming, we eat jollof rice.
We are going to order my own jollof rice.
Yes.
Thank you
okay,
very
order,
much.
and I'll give you an extra portion.
not
ordering
the
because
princess
of the-
portion.
Yeah.
That's a party.
You have fun. You have fun. You love it.
You talked about the, but recently you called out some of your industry colleagues for not supporting your show?
Is that caller? No, no, no. I mentioned some people that were that I'm very close to. I don't know why is it called? I said I specifically made the video for those people because these are the people that would always tell me, you know, that kind of thing. Don't worry, we are behind you. They've always encouraged me, even when I was down. Somebody like Alibaba, when I was sick, came to my house. I couldn't even, it was feeding me. So now that you people have encouraged me, like, go out, don't sit down, and I've done it. So I just needed them to post on their pages. So I don't know what maybe it's time to call out, but these people I respect. Benga, he called me as well. I've spoken to all of them. Julius, these are people that, Julius is one of those people that didn't even allow me look back. Brother Benga was the first person to put me on a poster when people said they can't put a female on a poster in Nigeria. So it's my right. T.A., Alibaba, Benga, Denka, Julius, Gandoki, Kofi, if they don't post on their page, I will say it because you people pushed me and kept on saying, you must not relent. And like I said, when I was sick, Alibaba was there, Princess Kilon share, you know. So I'm doing the show now. I think it's their right to post. And unless you push me to success.
And they better show up too.
Yeah, you have to show up. They have to be at, they'll be at the show tomorrow.
Let me ask you this as a personal experience and possibly some form of admonition to comedians like you who make like other people's lives better and they themselves have issues from time to time. We have heard, prominent comedians also, Mr. Bean, what's his name again?
Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson and a number of others that when they are in depression, people think it's a joke, So you have this, downtime, so to speak. How serious is it for a comedian whose job it is to draw people out of depression when they themselves are in it?
It's very serious. Because when I was depressed, I remember that was why I kept on mentioning Buchi. Buchi would leave his house, buy food, come to my house and sit so I would eat it. Because if he leaves, the food would be there the next day. I just felt I had failed everybody. It was so bad, I couldn't even step out of my house. My mom, everybody would say, why? I say, because I feel like I have failed those that, respect me. Or like I got married and my marriage didn't end. They all kept telling me, no. We all know it wasn't your fault. Besides, the world does not end. But I was too depressed. And then at a point, I had to start seeing a therapist. It helped me. But like I said, there were people who said, we will not allow you to continue to be depressed. So when a comedian is going through downtime, if you feel, because if you make people laugh, when you are sad, you'll be very sad. What makes me smile all the time is because I understand a lot of pain and I go through a lot of pain. So it's easy for me to smile. If you don't understand pain, you can't smile all the time. So you're making people happy, or you're an actor, you're a musician, and now I was very sick. I didn't even tell anyone. And then when I reached out to a few people, they too had their challenges at that time. They even wanted to see me, but I couldn't because I wasn't okay. My hair was falling off. I was very sick. I thought I was going to die. So what I want to tell people is, when you are depressed or when you find yourself questioning everything that you've believed in, please, don't be like Princess. Allow room for people who care about you to reach you. Because I remember Odogu calling me one time saying, this one will go, they call you all the time. Come out, come and hang out, and you are not coming. We'll stop calling you. That's Two Faces' best friend, Faces' older brother. And I couldn't explain what I was going through. It was overwhelming. You understand? So please, whatever you are going through, we are not perfect. And I can tell you for a fact, you can insult me, you can shame me, you can say whatever. Just turn a deaf ear and face the people that care about you and allow them come in. Because depression is not like money. It's not like if you give me 5 billion, then I'll get better. No. That feeling You are down in a well.
hole,
You are
a
seated.
black hole.
It's a black hole. Nobody can bring you out except yourself. It got to a point, I said, God, why can't I just disappear and erase from the face of this earth? I just, every day. But so, I don't want you to get to that point. If you're going through anything, if it's, for me, I was overthinking things. It wasn't even lack of money. I'll do something, I'll feel, oh, it could have been better. My marriage, I was overquestioned. Don't do that. Relax.
Okay.
Like my doctor will say, so that your brain will relax.
I think we're going to have to bring you back for a topic
Yes,
on depression.
yes,
for this
definitely.
particular
You are
Yes.
going to pay my transport fare. Oh.
I will think about it.
Very good.
So this show, again, just one more time, just mention it.
My show, Princess Life, is tomorrow at Muson. Special as always.
Muson or Muson Center?
Muson Center.
Just wanted to be sure.
And it's from 5 p.m. till 10.
Okay.
But like everybody knows, I start in time. So we start the show at 4.
Okay.
So those who are attending should get there before 4.
Otherwise,
Because the first 5 people, the first 20 people will get lovely gifts. All pregnant women who come with their spouses will get fantastic gifts. And the first 5 people will get gifts till the end of the year.
and the wow,
Jollof rice.
Not jollof rice.
Damilola Adekoya, popularly known as Princess Dami. Thank
thought
you
you were
very
gonna
much
say
for
Princess
coming. Thank you very much for coming to
Thank
Sunrise
you.
this morning and
Thank
for
you
closing
so
the
much,
show
ma.
for us this morning. And you at home, thank you very much for staying with us this long. We'll bring you a fresh edition next week. I'm Alera Edu, wishing you all the best till we see you again next week.
and I'm Ayo Makinde. Celebrate yourself.